What's up, guys? We're going to do a quick vlog review. I haven't read it yet, but we finally got the review we've been talking about for a while. It is the update. You know, it's the what their plan for the rest of the year is. Granted, the second half preview has started about 2 months into the second half of the year, so better late than never. Let's see what they're addressing from the past, the previous blog review, which you saw on my State of the Game address last time. There's things I'm looking forward to, but more importantly, I'm looking for some other stuff. So let's see. We got greetings, Marvel Strike Force fans, and of course, you guys, the players. There's certainly been a lot happening with the game in the Marvel Universe in the first half. We also spent time reading feedback from you, the players. Today, we want to pull back the curtain a bit and talk on some content and features that we're working on the second half, provide a bit of preview planning into early 2020. Please keep in mind that dates can shift and everything mentioned here is generally subject to change. Correct. Agreed? Let's go. The player journey. Behind the scenes, the dev team has been talking about how several updates will happen in succession over the coming months. We came to call this player's journey. Oh, what? Like Star Wars did? Cool. So as you read the section, keep in mind these topics are best looked as a narrative rather than individual beats. Great. I guarantee you that most of the people are not going to understand what that sentence means, so let me just tell you what that means. Keep in mind that these topics are best looked at as a narrative rather than individual beats means it's part of an entire whole, so all of these things contribute to the overall story of the game as it goes, or the storyline of how it's going to go. But it is not necessarily something, like, if one thing changes, it'll probably affect others. That's usually when you say something like that. Tier 2 ISO, we recently released Tier 2 ISOs into the game and some limited offers. This is itself not news, essentially beginning of a journey that leads directly to subsequent chapters. Yes, correct, we knew that. Player level 85, we already knew this was coming, no shock here. On top of the recent infusion of the gold economy, leveling up should feel satisfying. I don't know. That's up to you guys to decide. I don't really have a problem with gold, so I'm not going to criticize whether or not gold is a problem or not. I have enough gold to do all the things I want to. I don't have enough gold to do everything, but I have enough gold. Like, I don't really have to worry. If I want to bring a character to 85, I can. Your mileage may vary. I'm going to let this determination of whether the recent infusion of gold into the economy affected you positively or if it was just kind of, you know, spitting in the ocean. It's been about a year since the cap was A's. This improvement will assist in getting through some of the challenges that are particularly daunting. Unlike the level cap increase last year, the next iteration of gear tier will come at a later date. Totally reasonable. The next iteration of gear tier... Oh, teal. Wow, they really did change everything. Amazing. The good news is, surprisingly, that they changed the color scheme, which might mean that they're doing a shorter term color scheme, but we'll get to that in a second. Orange gear economy will increasing the orange gear of orange pieces. Yeah, of course they are. The next level of power will be available in your roster of Gear Tier 60 instead of it being another iteration of orange gear, which anybody in the know knew it wasn't going to be. And if you watched me, you were in the know, so you're welcome to this. We're breaking with tradition and starting the next color of gear teal. Now, it was supposed to be red originally. That's what the art and planning had. So they do seem to be changing the color. And that could be a temporary solution or not, but this was never going to be an orange gear. Gear Tier 16 was always going to be a different color. I originally was told it was red. They chose teal to change it. This seems like a more recent change. I don't know why. Maybe it just matches the aesthetic better. Maybe going from orange to teal is more of a vibrant change, like purple to orange is vibrant, blue to purple not so much. Maybe going from orange to red wouldn't feel as well. I don't know. It's a design change. Sure, we have teal gear, sounds great, and help players get to features like DD4 faster. Yes, stronger characters will be better at stuff. Slightly improved simplified structure to make it easier to track which pieces you need to get in the future. Interesting. I'd like to see what that means. Doom Raid 2, this will be one of the primary ways to earn Gear Tier 16 teal gear. The ISO 8 requirement for these will be Tier 2 ISO blue, with the trait requirement will mirror Doom Raid 1 exactly, so you can build the same characters and teams. The rewards here will be able to grant progress toward Tier 2 ISO 8, but the exact details are still being worked on. Great, this is exactly kind of what we expected. Doom Raids in the future are going to just require more and more. Totally fucking reasonable. Dark Dimension 5... Amazing that we finally got Dormammu. That's something crazy. I was assuming that they were going to do the same thing they did with Dark Dimension 3, which was give us something garbage, and then let us go in. So this is actually really relevant. On the other side, Dormammu being the Dark Dimension 5 reward is something to look forward to. So even though it kind of takes me by surprise, it's a positive thing. Getting a new character is always relevant, especially if their power level is relatively high. Doom kind of felt a little bit lackluster. I do feel like if Doom was the Dark Dimension 3 reward, the game probably would have been in a way better spot, and Doom would have felt more impactful to more players who got it than right now, where he's just kind of on his own. He's still a great character. Obviously, if you use Doom raids, you need Doom. You don't need him, but he helps. So this is kind of cool. The Epic 5th chapter will have a gear tier requirement. Now, the other thing I do want to say is, if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know I've been talking about how there's the next version of Dark Dimension, or they have a version of Dark Dimension that's no longer Dark Dimension. So it's incredibly possible that this represents the last Dark Dimension, the title, right? This might be the end of Dark Dimension, and it kind of is worded in that way because they always had plans of having a different version of Dark Dimension as it goes on. I don't know what it was called. Someone speculated it was the Mojoverse, like you'd be leaving the Dark Dimension and entering the Mojoverse. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but the idea of Dark Dimension was why they changed it from the name of it from DD1, DD2. That was never its original name. It was always Enter the Darkness, Fear the Darkness, etc., etc. So this might be the end of the chapter of Dark Dimension. They'll still be doing stuff like Dark Dimension. They just won't call it that anymore. We'll see. Should you succeed, you will harness incomparable power of the Cosmic Conqueror Dormammu to add to your roster. This is the concept art. The final version of the character could change. That's fair. Looks very similar to the Future Fight one. Specifically the gear. The face is pretty easy to do. Improvements. Okay, here we go. While this feature continues to be many players' favorite game mode, we understand the desire to keep things fresh with periodic updates. We recently ran a playtest with nearly 100 players, to get feedback on some proposed changes and streamline the experience. The feedback provided by those players gave us some clearer direction on how to improve the experience, and we're implementing those changes in a second round of playtesting. With a second round of feedback, we should be able to make some meaningful updates to Alliance War Live in the coming months. Be sure to read our weekly Friday posts for more updates in the future. Okay, so nothing, right? There's nothing. Like, let's be clear, there's nothing here. They said nothing about Alliance War. This is the exact same post, and if we go back, we can probably even see it. This is roughly the exact same post we got at the beginning of the year, which I wouldn't be surprised if they had taken it down by now, but it was somewhere around... Let's see. That's April Fool's. Where is it? Oh, it's just down. It's been removed. Great. That makes sense. So there's nothing here, right? They told us at the first blog post that there were going to be changes to Alliance War. They're also telling us they're going to be changes to Alliance War. They've updated us on their situation. This feels very, 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 very much like ISOs. If you remember how ISOs were and the blog posts for ISOs were back in the day, way back when, right? When we were but children who believed they knew what they were doing. It was like, hey, we're testing ISOs. They tested ISOs for like 9 months because they couldn't get it right. And then they ended up releasing ISOs, which were good, and they weren't happy because they were too good and players were enjoying them too much. So, of course, they started using them as a gate instead of as a way to optimize your roster. But that's its own thing. I want to believe that this is taking longer because they're trying to get it right. And that's very possible. But I gotta say, man, I don't feel it. This is not a lot. Listen, I just already don't like Alliance War, so there's no change that's gonna... Like, the only thing that can happen from this point is I could like Alliance War, right? Some of you guys already like Alliance War. That's great. And I'm sure these changes will have an effect on you. This effect can only ever be positive or neutral. It can't be negative because I don't enjoy what Alliance War does right now. And of course, they don't ask me or, you know, other content creators that aren't in the Envoy program. They only ask their tiny little group of people, and of course the whales. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's going to be okay, but realistically, it's not something I'm looking forward to. I hope I'm wrong. Real-time arena. Oh my god. There's another feature we're looking to streamline the experience. Here's a list of improvements. Reducing the initial load timer from 160 seconds to 75 seconds. Bans will include role and origin traits in addition to individual characters. Role and origin traits in addition to individual characters. I feel like you don't have to do that because you could just ban a role and knock out most teams. But that's its own thing. Whatever, that's fine. Cool. Bans are fine. Like, making more bans are fine because it forces you to use more of your roster. Unfortunately, the game mode is boring. Making objectives based on KOs and wins rather than on ability traits. See, we have a problem with this, right? We do have a problem with this. The problem we have with this is your progress in the Strike Pass is based on this. And making objectives based on knockouts and wins will help it be a more rewarding experience in things like a league or a competition or something. But it won't inherently change the fact that players most players that I interact with or see on any form of communication anywhere. If you don't believe me, go to global chat and be like, hey, what do y'all think about RTA? Hate the fact that it's kind of a nightmare to get wins or losses or whatever. It's really just easier to get your abilities in now through the game, and it's just a boring game mode. So making objectives based on KOs and wins, that doesn't feel like something they should be doing for the Strike Pass. That feels like something they should be doing for like an event they run. So this doesn't look inherently like a positive change. I'm sure someone will say it is. I don't know about you guys. You might find it positive. To me, I don't think it stands up that way. A bit later, we are planning an update that may include improvements on how progress is made towards RTA Battle Pass. That may include improvements on how progress is made towards the Battle Pass and improved matchmaking. A bit later. So they're going to make these changes, and then afterwards, they may improve RTA Battle Pass progress and improve matchmaking. I would probably try to improve that matchmaking first, but I understand from a design perspective or from a development perspective, if no one's playing your game mode, it's hard to enforce positive matchmaking, right? So what they're going to try to do is get people playing the game mode. What they could do is enforce the positive matchmaking now and then incentivize people to play in the game mode by giving away a reason to grow. In my mind, RTA should be a game mode that, as a player, we are excited to play, like Blitz used to be almost, where I'm like, oh, I have some free time. I'm going to go into RTA and do some fights, because the fights themselves should be rewarding. A win in RTA should give some reward that isn't just, I happen to be using the teams I need for the battle pass so that I can accrue these resources so that I can do. That's work, right? That's not enjoyment. That's work. It's not even grinding, right? It's work that doesn't kind of scan over the course of the game. So I gotta say, I don't know how I feel about this. Again, I will though add that RTA is not a game mode I particularly enjoy, so these changes don't seem like they're going to improve my enjoyment of the game, but they might improve somebody else's, or they might make me basically stay the same. So the worst case scenario is nothing changes for me. The best case scenario is I start caring. But as a reminder to everybody, starting next week, so what is it, the 9th of August, we are adding to the stream the Tony Bounty, where every day I will do RTA for an amount of time. If you match with me while I'm streaming, you get to come in and claim a spin on a prize wheel. If you beat me, the prize wheel is significantly better. So that's something that's happening if you are interested in the future of just doing RTA. A lot of people have to do RTA and it's not fun. This is just me trying to make it fun, giving you a little bit more to show that, like, hey, people would do RTA more if there was an actual reward as opposed to a job you had to fulfill. But that's just me. We're very interested to see how these changes your experience and would very much like to hear your feedback when the updates are live. Don't worry, we'll tell you. Economy. We've made numerous improvements to the availability of resources across the board in the first half of 2021 and will continue this trend in the second half of the year. We want to ensure that your character roster progression feels steady and rewarding. They're right. They're actually accurate. They have made numerous improvements to the availability of resources across the board. Some are better than others. But this is true, and I give them credit for that. This is very true. They have made it easier to accrue a lot of different resources. They've made it easier to accrue ISO 8s. maybe not in a meaningful way, but they have. They've made it easier to accrue Origin gear, Orange gear. All of this seems to be in line with them eventually releasing the next gear tier, so making it a little bit easier. They've increased somewhat the amount of... They've increased somewhat in the game the amount of training materials players have access to. Whether or not it's a meaningful change, that's your mileage may vary. So, but I think ultimately, I don't think this is untrue. I think they've made numerous improvements, and they want to, they want to continue this trend. So good for them. I hope to see them actually continue this trend. Quality of life improvement, save squads. Yeah, we mentioned this in the first blog preview. It was slightly delayed. We're happy to announce it's nearly here, and we can share more details about it now. In addition to the 40 save squads, we'll be adding 4 tabs linked to game modes that have 40 save squads each. Tabs, absolutely phenomenal. I hope they fix the lag, but that's phenomenal. This is perfect. For newer players, you'll reach certain player levels to fully unlock all the slots. 40 is 15, 70 is plus 5 to 20, plus 10, plus 40. Oh, so each one has save squad slots. Here's what I'm interested in. The 4 modes with tabs associated them with are Blitz, Raids, Arena, and Alliance War. It's worth noting that these features could scale with new game modes in the future should the need arise. If you open the Save Squads menu while selecting a team in one of these modes, you will default to viewing the tab for that game mode. All tabs are available for use in any game mode. This is what we're talking about. This is what we wanted. This is what we got. It took them 9.5 years to figure it out. They did it. I'm happy. Now, granted, there could be 1,000 things wrong with it when it goes live. As a matter of fact, I expect at least 400 things wrong with it. That said, that's totally fine. As long as they're not limited, right? It's fine. As long as it wasn't like Blitz is only for Blitz and Raids are only for Raids, because that would be stupid, right? But now you can have save squads for everything. Kind of the same way how we have versus battle. As a thing, but like nobody uses for versus battle because nobody does versus battle. We use it as a secondary, or at least I recommend people use it as a secondary way to track who you should be working on in your roster. Great. Cycling through save squads in Blitz will cycle through the save squads in your Blitz tab. Okay, that's fine, because you could cycle through your Blitz squads, and then if you have more teams, you can just manually select them. That's not necessarily the most convenient thing in the world, but like it's fine, especially with your weaker character pools, like the guys you haven't invested in. Those guys are really not that relevant through the game. They're only good for your first level up, and then, of course, your scaling. So I think this is totally reasonable. I'm happy with these changes. Auto basic combat. This has been highly requested, and we're definitely excited to deliver it. Turning on this advanced option will give you a second option in auto combat to instruct your characters to only use basic attacks. This will especially be helpful in modes like Raids, where you likely want to save special and ultimate abilities for later nodes that are more difficult. Yeah, no, we know why we wanted it, and yeah, happy we're getting it. No changes, like positive change, something we should have had for the entire time. Better late than never. Good to see it. I can't tell you the amount of times, especially like do Dark Dimension runs and stuff, when I'm doing reruns, like, or even just Raids. Sometimes you get to a point when it's like, I don't want to click auto, so I'm just going to button mash. Giving us this feature is incredibly useful. Sort by character level. This is one that's very straightforward. In the character roster, you'll be able to sort by character level, both ascending and descending. Cool. Expanded API features. We have absolutely floored by the amount of interest we got regarding access to the game's API. I mean, you know, like every other game that has an API, as it turns out, would be huge. We expected a few dozen inquiries, but we ended up getting over 400 emails. Yeah, that's probably about right. And also expecting a few dozen inquiries was already signified of how you didn't understand how APIs are incredibly important. We're currently working on a limited number of partners, but we want to expand access over time. One big thing players want is the ability to import their player roster into a platform where it can be viewed by themselves. With this request in mind, we have made working an additional functionality API a priority. This is one of our many long-term commitments to supporting our awesome community of players. No problems here. More costumes. Okay, let's go. This feature was introduced a few months ago, and we read over a metric ton of requests from players for costumes and their favorite Marvel heroes. We plan to release more costumes each major villain update, and we're excited to give you a preview. Okay, this Carnage looks absolutely phenomenal. This Taskmaster, not so much, but also whatever. this Carnage is absolutely insane, and I look forward to it. In early 2022, wow, this is a pretty decent blog post. We usually keep the scope of these previews limited to about 6 months ahead of the content, and features mentioned are reasonably reliable targets, but there's something in particular a bit outside of that scope that we just can't wait to announce. New game mode. Oh, they do have Grand Tournament. Cool. We're thrilled to announce a brand new game mode that has started production and what internally calling the Project Grand Tournament. We want to create an experience that gives players the opportunity to flex power in the top teams. So use many of the best. Yeah. Oh, fun. So, fun fact about this, if this is in any way, shape, or form the same way as Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, just letting you guys know, this is going to hurt a lot more players than it's going to help because it pairs based on power. So you know how Wars, everyone's kind of upset about... You know how in Wars, everyone's kind of upset that they're paired against TCP? Like, their alliance is so much stronger than us. Imagine that, but now the bottom part of your roster is now a cost, so I'm 12, right? I'm 12 million, so if I'm 12 million and my Ravagers contribute like 100k to that, it means I'm going to be paired against somebody who might have a more lined up investment. So now the ability to invest in your roster is going to change for a lot of people because you can't uninvest in characters, right? It's going to be a quite unique situation. I look forward to seeing the community's general opinion, but we will see. Top 80 characters or something. Now that's more recent, but yes. So tournament structure, totally fine. You know, match in a large group and will take turns fighting over the course of a week. Players will battle opponents based on a Swiss tournament system, non-elimination, multiple rounds. Victory points will be earned. Combat. In the setup phase, players assign several... It's literally just war tournament. It's knockout war tournament. Sounds great. But the fact that it's Swiss-style tournament means that you will always be playing something and, you know, you go up the ladder. To keep things fresh, turns will have rotating different rules for rooms that will affect offensive and defense teams. Tournaments will be part of a season lasting several months. All victory points earned. The better your division, the better rewards you'll receive. Totally reasonable. Divisions will contribute to your rank and global leaderboards. We're still in the early stages of development. Absolutely great. I look forward to it. Summary, this about wraps it up for the preview. We're working even more updates, and we will continue to keep that update there. Greatly appreciate all the support. Cool. Okay, so the good news is that apparently we now know there is another leak inside of Scopely. Because most of this information was ironically claimed to be a Russian data mine earlier, but there's no way they could data mine any of this from the game because this is way too much information for the game to have. So somebody in Scopely has leaked this document internally, and I don't know. That's fun to hear that there's another leak. Maybe we'll be getting more information. Now, this document's probably been worked on for months, right? You know, it's not just like they made it in an afternoon. So it's interesting to see that around this time, when it was almost finalized, that leak has gone out, whether it be from someone inside or someone gained access to Scopely servers, which is something that's been happening for a long time anyway. But it's cool to see that. So, other than that, it's definitely not information that was provided and data mined. It's definitely information that was either leaked or obtained, I don't want to say illegally, but, you know, not necessarily through the proper channels. And that's cool because now we know we can get some more reliable information before Scopely. So overall, this does appear to be... A lot of this is air. A lot of this is just them patting themselves on the back for doing well. I call it the Nestle effect, how Nestle spent $1 million on Super Bowl commercials to promote how they spent $100,000. They donated $100,000 worth of water to Africa or something. Like, yeah, good job, man. Could have just spent the $1 million and sent a tweet out, you know? But that's up to them. But there are some positive changes to look forward to in the game. I don't necessarily think that any of these changes are oh my god, we're fixed, right? You might think everything here is fixed. As we know, the introduction of you know, like the Alliance War and the real-time arena changes don't necessarily improve anything, which are problems people are having in the game, but we don't know because they haven't given us real information, so what are we supposed to say? Like, we don't know if they're going to be good. No, that's kind of the point I'm making. In our tier, we can, from what we can see, none of this really looks like it's beneficial. That's at least for me. The introduction of some new content is relevant to me as a player. I'm excited to see whatever this is going to take to be able to do Doom Raid 2s. But as we've already gone on, they have gone, say, the next iteration of the gear tier will come in at a later date, which is gear tier 16. I wouldn't expect that to happen yet. Either it's going to come with the level 85 increase later, or it's going to come with some level 90 increase. All of this stuff is likely to happen towards the end of the year. More information, and we're already almost at the end of the year. But, you know, I wouldn't expect much of these changes to happen in the next month or so. I'd expect to see them. Maybe this, but I wouldn't expect much of anything else to come up. But that's okay, because at least now we know what to expect in the future. And that information itself is enough for the community. You can decide if this information is like, wow, this is exciting and I'm super happy and all of the things that suck aren't going to suck anymore. Maybe. And you could say nothing sucks and this is just the way it is. And that's great too. I think that some of these things are really cool. I think I'm really excited to look at what the new gear tier is and enter Dark Dimension 4. Not particularly excited about the fact that it's going to be gated behind Doom Raids right now, but we will see what's going to happen while they do. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good night. Have a great day. I've been Tony Scangili, and I will catch you later.